Hi, I'm Chuck Colson with this week's 2-minute warning. Here's a scene out of an old World War II movie. A French family huddling around the radio, curtains drawn, lights out. The invasion of Europe is on. The Allies have landed. They're desperately, these people, trying to find out by BBC what exactly is going on, listening to the radio. Their lives may depend on it. But they've got to keep the volume down. Their village is still occupied by the Nazis. The Nazis depend on keeping their subjects in the dark, feeding them only the information they want them to hear. That's why the penalty for listening to the BBC or any foreign broadcast or reading a foreign newspaper is too frightening to imagine. Well, sadly, this is not just the stuff of old war movies. Controlling information, the newspapers, radio, and today, internet, is how tyrannical regimes keep a hold on power to this day. And once they lose control over the flow of information, they begin to lose control over their people. I saw it firsthand on my last visit to the Soviet Union in 1990. Change was in the air. Protesters were bold enough to demonstrate on the streets of Moscow. I asked some Soviet dissidents how this could be. They told me the #1 change agent was Ronald Reagan and his policies. But the second most important was the fax machine. The Russian people, you see, were beginning to get more and more news from the outside world. They knew all about communist regimes in Eastern Europe, either crumbling, as in Poland or East Germany, or on the brink of it, like Czechoslovakia and Romania. They were emboldened. And look what's happening in Egypt today. Thousands, hundreds of thousands of young people connected on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, learn about what happened in Tunisia, organized over the internet, and hit the streets. Mubarak's dictatorial regime tried to shut down the internet in Egypt, but the damage was done. What this tells us is that free speech and information are enemies of tyranny. It also tells us that free, healthy societies survive on the free flow of information. We must guard freedom of speech and communication because it is on well-reasoned discourse that civilization advances, as Aquinas noted so eloquently. Conversation is at the heart of democracy. And it's not just tyrannical governments that can seek to control the flow of information. Seemingly non-political, benign corporations can play a major role in the flow of information these days. Take Apple, for instance. How many millions use iPhones and iPads to gather and disseminate information? That's why Apple's decision to ban the Manhattan Declaration app from its iTunes store was so egregious. Because the Manhattan Declaration stands for traditional marriage between one man and one woman. Because of that, Apple arbitrarily decides that it exposed homosexuals to harm. How could they say that? So it sought to shut down one side of a critically important moral debate. Could other corporations, Google, Microsoft, follow suit? And what would be the ramifications for free speech and discourse? If there's an object lesson about what we've been seeing in the Middle East, or in China, or in Iran, or in corporate boardrooms, it is that every Christian, every citizen should be working diligently to preserve free dissent and free civil discourse, because they are the key to the preservation of all our freedoms. I'm Chuck Colson. That's this week's 2-minute warning.